Hey y'all, it's Mellow coming at you with some nigga energy. Now, today we talked a little bit about some food and edification. Last video about church going folks. And in a similar vein to that, we gonna talk about sexuality. So I hope y'all are ready to buckle up and hold on tight. Because I'm not holding nothing back. Because it's time for our babies to know they're okay. And sis gonna tell you, auntie gonna tell you. If you ain't got an auntie or mama, well then, I'll be that today for you. Now, one of the things that I was taught growing up was that you gotta save yourself for marriage. I'd say that that's good advice if that's what you wanna do. Get married someday. And raise a family and all that. But you got choices. That is not the only goal of life, getting married and having babies. So what happens to somebody who don't want to get married and have babies? Are they supposed to just be alone and lonely and sexless for their entire life? I'd say no. But be discerning. And what happens to those who are divorced or no longer in couples? Same thing. But what I will tell you is be discerning. See, every single person out there holds a vibration. And the vibration is the energy that we give off. You ever feel certain things around certain people? That is your body's reaction to their energy. You're attracted to a person. It's not just based on looks. Sometimes it's energy. Now, some people who out here just following a fat ass, then they get what they get whenever they just following the fat ass or whatever else. But I'd encourage you to look for more before you let somebody touch you. And this is not about morality. This is about personal safety and ethics. See, one of the things that's lost, I think, in translation, and one of the things that doesn't get through to the young people when they go into our church houses is that they're going to have sex. And so teaching them abstinence until marriage, knowing full well none of y'all did that, doesn't work. Because the older they get, the more they see the hypocrisy of it. And that is unnatural. So, this is me saying to you, young babies, all the babies, that it's okay to have sex. How you do that and govern yourself. That's the part we're going to talk about. Now, when I say vibration, I mean everybody out there is holding on to something. Good, bad, in between. Figure out what that is before you let them touch you. Don't just let your physical, carnal desires decide who you're going to lay with. Because whatever is attached to them energetically is going to be all over you when you lay with them. And then you're going to get that off of you. I'm telling you, not just from experience, but just common sense. If somebody's riddled, even though they don't tell you they are, but it takes time to figure this out. Riddled with anxiety, depression, negative thought processes, all kinds of things like this, and you lay with them physically, then you getting some of that too. Just laying next to them, you're absorbing some of that energy off of them. No different than you letting that switch touch your skin and you absorbing their sweat. They can get on you that way too. But somebody who's dealing with negative associations with self and soul, you're going to get some of that too. One of the reasons why when you have a one-off or a one-night stand, you might feel perfectly fine about that. If you're completely one with yourself, then you might be fine about that. But maybe a day later you want some more, or you want to go find somebody else. Those people who, claim to be addicted to sex, it's just a lack of self-love, pretty much. At least that's what I've discovered. And that lack of self-love helps you searching and seeking it out in physical pursuits when the physical pursuits are only temporary, and then the next time you never fix it, and then you gotta do it again and then again. Now, I'm talking from the perspective of some clients, I'm talking from the perspective of people I've known in my life. And what I understand about it is sex is sacred in a sense, but not so sacred that you shouldn't engage in it unless you have a ring or a ceremony. Because our physical nature, and it's shown by the population, dictates that marriage doesn't stop no show or start no show. If we're being more honest with our youth, we should be able to be honest enough to tell them we definitely smashed before we got married. And you know what? It's actually not advantageous to you or anybody else to not do that to see if you're sexually compatible. If you're not sexually compatible, then what's the point? Because some people like it slow, some people like it fast, some people like both. It depends on the day. No different than you talking about your bills, the fact of whether or not you want to have kids, your credit, your finances. You definitely need to talk about sex before you engage in a commitment with someone. How often do you like to have it? How frequently? Do you have trauma from childhood? We need to discuss that. Are you in treatment? Things like this. Have you been abused in any way? Before you lay hands on me, I need to know these things. Because whatever you have attached to you is now going to be attached to me. And I'm going to have to clean that off somehow. Or I'm going to absorb it and internalize it. Because it's not just the sex, the behaviors that are before and after will also be internalized. We speak to our children and our youth from this perspective. A common sense one, or one of not doing self-harm, instead of fear of a deity that they do not see. They can only sense and feel the older they get and understand. Maybe more beneficial. Maybe we would have less young people engaging in sex with just anybody if we would level with them and say, you know what, we enjoy sex. Sex is a beautiful part of life. And you should enjoy it. Not only that, if you don't want to get pregnant, there's ways to prevent that. And if you'd like to have sex, please talk to me and I won't judge you. If we had more parents like this, we would have less unintended pregnancies. This is some common sense stuff, y'all. Oh, sorry, my back is itching. But also, talk about the fact that if you had negative experiences with sex, speak on that from a perspective that they can understand and tell them why. Not just, oh, you shouldn't do this because God said so. They don't listen to you and they can see you and they know there's real-time consequences. Their brains are not developed enough to understand the consequences that's going to happen to them after that. They feel like they have time to clean that on out of their system because you told them that when they go into the church houses every Sunday. And they can just keep doing whatever the hell they're doing and just get baptized and everything will be okay, right? No. That didn't even work for y'all. It just didn't. So, because it ain't working, and whatever ain't working, you gotta kind of examine it. Understand, it came from a place of maybe we should have some decorum and order and ethics and morals. Well, if you beat somebody with ethics and morals and they see everybody out here trife, even if they don't understand the word hypocrite, they still understand the energy of it. So maybe don't be that. Level with them. See, I know so many people that were grandparents before they were ready to be grandparents, and also those kids were ready to be parents. Because they didn't sit down and talk to them about just basic sexuality. Even the concept of calling it the birds and the bees is so silly to me. Because we grown ass folks and we can't use the word sex, penis, and vagina. Why? Why? Because I don't know if you notice, based on the chemicals and the structures of our food and the things they're putting in our crops and whatnot, our girls are having their menses younger and younger. Which means that even the lack of understanding is enough to cause them to be parents before they're ready to be parents. You making them feel bad about their bodies and what they look like, especially us female gender people. It's not going to be a helpful thing. What you're creating is a crop of young ladies who have no idea about how precious their sexuality is because you've always made their sexuality a punishment and thought. Cover yourself up. Them shorts are too short. You can't wear that around men. First of all, I ain't the only one that got this argument. If I gotta cover myself up around grown men and I'm a child, something wrong with them men, put them out your house. You need to check that shit. And there's too many grown folks. When I say grown folks, so many people 40 or older who don't seem to have a great understanding, especially in the black community. I'm calling y'all out of treating our daughters as precious. More and more of you are, which is such a beautiful thing to see, because they are precious. You can tell the ones who was never really taught that they were precious. And I ain't judging them babies. It's just a thing. And it's not necessarily calling them up the names or, excuse me, y'all, or anything like that. Sometimes it's just the lack of education and the lack of sympathy for their position. If they come home and tell you their school or a boy or a man in some way denigrated them because of what they were wearing, support them. Like, unless they walked out of our house naked, support them. But do you let them walk out of the house naked? I mean, that's for you. I'm not a person that judges parenting skills necessarily. But ordering your steps go along with that. Now, can you do both? Walk and chew gum? Say, hey, let me tell you about the world. There's a lot of people in it that are going to say and do negative things or things that make you feel bad. I want you to know that you're beautiful. No matter what you put on, you're beautiful. You're the most precious gift to me. Now, because those people exist, your protection is your armor. Cover your body in a way that still makes you feel beautiful while also protecting you from those people. It's not you, baby, it's them. That's the way you can do it if you still want to do that. So they can know it's not about them or their bodies. It's all about the people who ain't got no damn sense. Now, in the same vein, and she's like, I don't want to cover. Or he's like, I don't want to cover. Okay, let's compromise. You want to wear a tube top? I'm asking you to maybe put a tube bra underneath to protect yourself from these people. Because there's nothing wrong with you, baby. Nothing wrong with your body. It's beautiful. They just don't know. They just don't have no good boundaries. Nobody taught them good boundaries. Or maybe somebody did, but they ain't using them. And when I'm not around you, this is my way of being around you to protect you. Now, will that always work? It won't. Because you can cover yourself with a turtleneck up to here. And there's still some people that have not learned appropriate boundaries. And think they're entitled, especially to people who are in feminine bodies. They're entitled to your space. So what you do in those cases, loved ones? I'm talking to the parents as well as the kids, the younger ones who may happen upon this video. Learn self-defense. Because ain't nobody say you got to be somebody's victim. Now, will you always be able to defend against everything? No. But being prepared, because the world is imperfect, does help. See, we are concerned about teaching our daughters particularly female genders, particularly how to cook and clean. A lot of us were. And there's still a lot of men who feel like they're entitled to have cooking and cleaning equipped in a woman, which I won't even go into that, but I bet you can guess what I think about that. But are we teaching them self-defense while also letting them know how beautiful they are and that the self-defense is for them to feel safer, not because there's anything wrong with them? Are we teaching them that? If we're not, we should. And when I talked about vibrations earlier, all kind of vibrations. Disease is a vibration too that you hold inside your body. And be as clear without frightening them away from sex, because sex is a healthy thing to engage in once you get to a specific age and are cognitively able to understand that process. Teach them about disease and all the ways you can teach them about it. And there's some grown folks out there that ain't scared of disease at all. So for y'all who out there sexually active, just be aware that there's a lot of grown folks still that does not care about disease and spreading it. I choose not to let anybody touch me, and that's my choice until I get past those steps of asking questions about their mental health, asking the questions about their emotional health, asking questions of their view of women or feminine energy, seeing how they carry themselves. And ain't nothing wrong with you if, a good looking body is enough for you. This is just me saying, baby, maybe that's not enough. Long term. Short term, you might get something out of that. But long term, it is never worth it. At least from the experiences I've heard from others. Be honest with you. The energy that others give off to us, no matter what the circumstance, is important. Because all energy is food. What we eat, what we consume on our phones and our TVs, and our sexuality is consumerism, consumption. You are consuming that person's energy and they're consuming yours. So no matter whether you're masculine or feminine, and that doesn't have anything to do with gender, you're consuming the energy of another human being. So no more than you would eat dry dog shit off the floor, should you just engage in sexuality with someone without first knowing the first thing about them, mostly because whatever you don't know, you're going to consume. Till next time, you are loved.